Hi, this is Anthony, and this is my National Novel Writing Month 2009 Day 16 video blog. Tonight was wacky. It was kind of surreal in a way. It was very cold and rainy going out, so I think that kept a lot of people at home. But worse than that, our venue that we had scheduled for Monday nights, in my personal opinion, they kind of screwed us. They assured us that we'd have the location on Monday nights, and we showed up with a bunch of people, and the place was packed with some other group. Turns out that we didn't really have the location. It wasn't really promised to us because apparently money talks, and the other big group was paying for the location. Which is an understandable business choice, but it would have been nice if they'd let us know that up front, that if there was a paying group that we would be bumped. And so we went to our other location, which I will name because I don't have anything bad to say about them, is Smoky Row up on Martin Luther King in Des Moines. I've mentioned it before, just fantastic, cool coffee shop. Of course, they didn't plan on us showing up tonight, and that place was just packed with patrons, and so we weren't able to write there. We finally ended up at Hot Cup of Kryptonite on Fleur Drive, which is a story in and of itself, but they were very gracious and made room for us, and we had the opportunity to write there. I ended up getting up to a little over 36,000 words. I didn't get a lot of writing done because we got a late start. It took us an hour to find a place just to write. And my story has progressed nicely. I've gotten through a battle scene, and now my characters are moving forward and about to be led into the primary conflict of the story. So we're actually heading inexorably here towards the climax of the story, which is awesome. Now, of course, the location tonight, there was a group there, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody, so I don't mind saying who the group was, but it was the Iowa Atheists and Free Thinkers, and they were there talking about evolution versus creationism. And given the nature of their point of view, they don't have an entirely positive viewpoint about religion in general and Christianity in particular, and especially evangelical or fundamentalist Christianity. And so they were discussing this subject. Now, of course, I was very interested in the science that they were discussing. So it was a little distracting, listening to that conversation, but it was also interesting because there were some things about DNA studies, and artifacts, not artifacts, but human remains that have been found, that are 100,000 years old, and the bearing that those have on our understanding of evolution and so on. But like I say, they were saying some things that were, if you were really a devout Christian in particular, probably were, could be taken as pretty offensive. And there were a couple people in our group who, they were so offended by it, and although I don't share their point of view, I can understand why they were offended by it. They were so offended by it that they're not going to return to that venue, and I'm not sure. I don't think that the venue itself necessarily supported the viewpoint of the group in question, but I don't really know either way. It was interesting for me because on the one side you have people who are these devout believers. They're devoutly faithful to their belief, their beliefs about God and about heaven and where they're going in the afterlife and so on. And these are people that, my experience with them, has been entirely positive. They've never, pushed it on me or caused me, any trouble. And on the other side of the room, you have this group that, just as passionately believes that there is no God, that there is no heaven, that when you die, your body simply decomposes and into its constituent molecules and becomes part of the ecosystem once again. And it was very interesting. It really got me to thinking about where I sit, and I sit in a very strange place because I don't really sit at either end of the spectrum. On the one hand, I believe devoutly isn't really the word I want to choose, but I believe passionately in the explanatory power of science. I'm trained in the sciences, although to be fair, my degree has the word science in the name, which usually means it's not, really considered a hard science. But I have a couple of years of training in physics, and then I switched to computer science, and so I'm pretty familiar with it, and I really respect science, and I find science very fascinating, and I really enjoy that, and I really see the world in a naturalistic way. On the other hand, I've had, and I allude to them in my writing, and I allude to them in blog entries and so on, but I've had a number of experiences that, for lack of a naturalistic explanation, I can only describe as supernatural. Do I believe that they're in fact, supernatural beyond the understanding of science? Well, probably not. I think that they're, they lie within an area that is not well explained, is maybe very, very subtle, and is beyond the sensitivity of our measuring instruments. But I've had some very objectively real experiences with a ghost hunting group that I was part of, with some paranormal phenomena and so on. And I find these things really, really fascinating. I find these things really interesting. So it's a difficult place for me to be sitting, but it's also an interesting place to watch these two points of view at odds with each other. Nominally, I suppose I've been a Buddhist since 1990 or so. I say nominally because I'm not, I don't have like a deep understanding of the sutras or things like that. I understand the core concepts and, ascribe to that philosophical system. But it's just interesting for me because I'm looking at these two groups, and there's no way that I could conceive to reconcile their 2 points of view. And in a sense, I realize that they literally live in two different realities. They live in two completely different worlds, which is particularly relevant to me because a lot of my writing is about the breakdown of objective shared reality into subjective individual realities, and what impact that would have on the experience of people, on the lives of people, and on their ability to form communities and culture. So it was really fascinating and enlightening, and so I think I might have to pay even more attention to that conflict or dichotomy in the future. It was interesting to see it tonight. Of course, it troubles me to see people upset with one another or in conflict with each other. But I also think that, well, that's what stories are about. Stories are about tension and conflict. And so hopefully, I can draw something from that and include it in my novel as I go forward. Well, with that, I'm about 10 minutes here, which is YouTube's limit, so I will sign off. Catch you later. Bye.